Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today I'm going to be asking what is your favorite Whittaker era story, or your favorite 13th Doctor story. Mine is actually not an episode from the TV show. It is a short story written during lockdown by Stephen Moffat called Terror of the Umpty Ums. Now, I have talked about this story before on the channel, but I wanted to go back. This seemed like a good video to do now that the Whittaker era is closed and we've seen everything, to kind of pick a favorite. I really like Terror of the Umpty Ums. It's a short story. You can find it online. I actually recommend checking it out if you're a fan of Doctor Who. Even if you're not a fan of the Whittaker era or the 13th Doctor, I do recommend it because it's really good no matter which Doctor would be in the story. The 7th Doctor, the 4th Doctor, the 10th Doctor. It would still fit because the story and Stephen Moffat get what makes the Doctor. And while this very much is the 13th Doctor, you can tell by her dialogues the 13th Doctor, it still feels like any Doctor could fit in this story. And I'm not going to really go into details on it because I don't want to spoil it if whoever's watching hasn't read it. If you specifically have not read it, you should go read it. You can find it online, but it's really good. It really gets the Doctor. It gets the situation. The Doctor reacts the way the Doctor should in this situation. It feels, the 13th Doctor feels more like the Doctor quite possibly than any other time I've ever seen or read her. She's just phenomenal in this story. And it's interesting to me because there's a lot of times where my favorite 13th Doctor moments are outside of the TV show. Something about Whittaker's performance sometimes, well, sometimes it's really good, sometimes it just doesn't click for me. But when I'm reading her in short stories or novels or comic books, graphic novels, I reviewed a graphic novel recently that was really good, I tend to click with her Doctor more. I tend to understand what makes her Doctor tick more, and I tend to connect with her Doctor more. And I do in this story as well. The ending is phenomenal. It's probably one of my favorite Doctor Who stories, and the fact that it feels very fitting. It feels like a Doctor Who story. The 13th Doctor feels like the Doctor, and it resolves the way it should. It makes perfect sense for it to end the way it does. It's just a phenomenal piece of writing, and I would suggest anyone check it out. Terror of the Umpty Ums. Now, my favorite TV story is definitely Power of the Doctor. There's a lot going on. It has its flaws. But I love it. I mean, a lot of that, it's different reasons. I love all the fan service. I love getting all the fan service jokes. Not even the big moments, the little stuff like the Master's Dalek plan or that's funny. That amused me when that happened. Him listening to the song Rasputin, that's hilarious. But of course, getting and we're getting into spoilers if you haven't seen Power of the Doctor. But getting to see all of the old Doctors when she's kind of thinking in her own head. That's really cool. The Doctor AI is a pretty neat idea, and it gives Whittaker stuff to do while her Doctor's sidelined. It still keeps her in her final story. Plus, of course, the scenes when Tegan gets to reconnect with the AI of 5 and Ace gets to reconnect with the AI of 7. Those are beautiful moments. Two of my favorite moments in all of modern Who. It was just beautiful and touching, and if you're a fan of classic Who, those are very, very, emotional moments. So I enjoyed that. It's very much a celebration of it. You get this impression that when they were making it, they weren't sure at the time if it was going to be the last episode, because it does feel like a celebration of Doctor Who as a whole. Even it feels more like a celebration of Doctor Who as a whole, even more so than Day of the Doctor did, which felt more like a celebration of modern Who for the most part. So I very much enjoyed that, even if, like I said, you didn't need the Daleks, you didn't need the Cybermen. They get Deus Ex Machina out of it again. That Ashard, or whatever his name is, the lone Cyberman, feels a bit wasted in it. It definitely has problems, but it does what Rise of Skywalker wanted to do, which was to give you so much fan service that you could positively overlook the flaws the story had, which doesn't work in Rise of Skywalker. It throws so much stuff at you, you're so busy going, oh my God, there's Wedge, oh my God, there's Londo, but you still notice the flaws of the story, which they were hoping you'd overlook, and because of that, Rise of Skywalker is terrible. Whereas with Power of the Doctor, it works. It does work. Even though it has flaws where stuff in the story either doesn't make sense or it's unnecessary. It's done in such a way, the episode is put together in such a way that you're willing to forgive it. It does such a good job with everything else. Sacha Dhawan's master is a scene stealer. He's so good in this story. Having Ace and Tegan back, the ending scene with other past companions, seeing William Russell. And the regeneration is actually really good. One of the best regenerations we've had in a long time. It's not drawn out, it's not long-winded, and it feels very fitting for the 13th Doctor. So it's done really well. And while there's several of the Whittaker episodes I like, especially in Series 12, this one is easily my favorite of her TV stories. I also enjoy some of the comics as well. I did review, was it Time Out of Mind recently? I enjoyed that one. I liked the crossover story, the graphic novel crossover story where she runs into the 10th Doctor, kind of set during the events of Blink in 1969. That was a cool one. Seeing the 10th Doctor interact with Yaz, Graham, and Ryan was cool. Seeing Martha interact with 13 was cool. That was a really good mini comic as well. But if I'm picking favorites, it's definitely Terror of the Umpty Om. That is very much a Doctor Who story, well written. I really want Stephen Moffat to come back during Russell's second era. Because when Stephen Moffat doesn't have the weight of Doctor Who and Sherlock and everything else on his shoulders, he writes some of the best Doctor Who episodes of all time. His stuff during Russell's first era is just phenomenal. All of those stories are absolutely phenomenal. He has a 100% track record during the Russell T Davies era. 100% of putting out not just good, but phenomenal Doctor Who stories. So I do hope he gets to come back and write at least one story during Russell's era. So, what is your favorite episode of the Whittaker era? Your favorite 13th Doctor story? And what do you think of the ones I've talked about? Comment down below and let me know. Other things to do, click that like button, click that subscribe button, and that bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I also have a Patreon. That does help me keep the bills paid in this new, more expensive apartment. So if you're interested, if you like my content, there's a link to that down in the description below. If you would take a second and check that out. I want to give a shout out to two of my top tier patrons, Stephen Crane and Colin Coney. I really appreciate their continued support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. I also have an Amazon wish list down there as well. There's a link to that, and an Amazon UK wish list, which actually has the Power of the Doctor, Eve of the Daleks, Legend of the Sea Devils steelbook that looks really good down on it. I am interested in that. And I also have my P.O. box down there as well if there's anything you would like to send to me. Most importantly though, thank you for watching.